Which Grand Prix saw an astonishing 13-car pile-up, leaving 4 races stranded without a hope for a restart? Where did legendary Murray Walker find himself utterly gobsmacked? Intense rivalries, heart-stopping drama, unexpected heroes, and the kind of confrontations that make headlines. A tempest of events that quite simply had it all. The 1998 Belgian Grand Prix. Some races are so monumental, so teetering on the precipice of chaos, that they forced the very rulebook of the sport to be rewritten. The events of that tumultuous day left an indelible mark on the FIA, prompting a cascade of stringent safety measures, from revamped aerodynamics to fortified crash structures, and an intensified focus on wet weather combat training for the drivers. Why such urgency, you ask? Well, if there ever was a billboard screaming, "Danger ahead!" the Belgian Grand Prix would be flashing on it in neon. Hold on to your hats, folks. It's about to get stormy. Nestled in Belgium's Ardennes forest lies a track that has seen more twists, turns, and tantalizing tales than a season finale of EastEnders. The circuit day, well, let's just call it Spa because who really has the tongue gymnastics skills for the full title? A living testament to motorsport's heritage, this beastly beauty stretches for 7 kilometers, making it the longest circuit in the F1 calendar.
What?
I mean, who doesn't enjoy a good Spa day, right? But 1998 Spa Day was no leisurely affair. With its unpredictable weather patterns, one moment sunny, the next a torrential downpour, this track was primed for pandemonium. Especially that year, as the title race was boiling down to the Schumacher-Hakkinen rivalry, some say. As the rain poured that fateful day, even the skies were in cahoots with the racing gods, ensuring a race that would go down in legend. In the red corner of our F1 boxing ring, Michael Schumacher, the reigning prince of Ferrari, sporting 7 world titles by the end of his career. At this point in '98, he was like a boxer dancing on his toes, agile, strategic, and with a right hook that could send rivals into the gravel. Then, glinting in the McLaren Silver, there's Mika Hakkinen, the flying Finn they call him. Not because he had wings, but because of how effortlessly he skims tarmac. He was the reigning world champion, having finally clinched the title in '97 after nearly a decade in the sport. Now, if F1 were a romantic drama, Schumi and Mika would be Ross and Rachel. Always at it, a bit on again, off again, on the track mind ya, with every fan eagerly waiting for their next encounter. Let's wind back the clock a tad, shall we? Earlier in the season, the Argentine Grand Prix had seen them elbow to elbow, paint trading, with Mika barely ahead by a whiff of Ode motor oil. Then came Spain, a race so tense it made a Buckingham Palace guard seem jumpy. The 2 titans circling each other, calculating, waiting for that one slip, a single moment to pounce. But Spa was to be their Colosseum. Historically, Schumacher had a soft spot for the Belgian track, having made his debut here in '91 and clinching his first ever victory in '92. The chap almost considered it his own backyard. Mika, on the other hand, was yet to claim this territory. But it wasn't just about these 2 titans. 1998 was a year of significant shake-ups on the technical front. The FIA, in their infinite wisdom, or perhaps just a penchant for stirring the pot, introduced some head-scratching changes. For starters, cars were put on a diet, slimming down to a svelte 180 centimeters in width from a rather portly 200 centimeters. And as any good Brit knows, it's all fun and games until someone messes up the aerodynamics. Groove tyres were the next curveball. Designed to slow the cars down, they were a bit like asking a marathon runner to race in wellies. Teams had to rethink strategies, adapt to reduced grip, and essentially relearn how to make these beasts dance in the rain, especially at a slippery venue like Spa. The narrower cars and those fashion-forward tyres transforms the dynamics of the season. Drivers were getting to grips, literally, with how their cars handled, skidded, and danced in the rain. It was as if the racing gods had looked down and said, "Let's make one for the history books." And oh, did they deliver. The charm of a British summer. But hold on, this isn't Brighton, it's Belgium. Spa specifically was drenching its curves as if it had just binge-watched a tragic romantic drama. Now, with the overcast skies above and engines humming below, the air was thick with more than just rain. Anticipation dripped from every corner. The lights dimmed, and then green. For a fleeting moment, the world paused. Drivers propelled by pure adrenaline dashed forward, wrestling not only with rivals, but the capricious beast that the track had become. All seemed poised for racing glory, until the formidable last source hairpin loomed, and with it came calamity.
Oh my God!
David Coulthard and his McLaren, typically a force to be reckoned with, found himself helpless, its tyres struggling for grip. What ensued was an F1 catastrophe for the ages. Cars skidded, slid, and collided in a chaotic symphony that involved,
Wait a minute!
13 vehicles. Amongst the casualties, F1 stalwarts like Johnny Hulbert and Iano Trulli. This was basically the racing equivalent of dropping your entire tray in the school canteen, except a whole lot more expensive. The aftermath resembles an avant-garde exhibition. Cars askew, fragments everywhere. The estimated financial damage was upwards of $13 million.
Oh my God!
Yes, you heard that right. Even Murray Walker, the voice of 1,000 races, found himself without words. And while Schumacher wove his way out of the chaos, surely believing he dodged the metaphorical bullet, little did he know what the race still had in store for him. As the dust, or more abruptly the spray, settled, the paddock became a beehive of activity. Mechanics were in overdrive, resembling a pit crew at a 24-hour coffee-drinking marathon. Although the process took a whole hour, it seemed like mere minutes as the team scrambled. Spare cars, often the overlooked siblings in the F1 family, were suddenly thrust into the spotlight. Each team worked fervently to ready these backups, adjusting setups and fueling them, making them race-worthy for the impending restart. The gravity of the situation was further compounded when it became clear that not every driver would rejoin the restart. 4 cars, sadly, couldn't be brought back to life for the race's encore. Among them were Rubens Barrichello, Oliver Panis, Mika Salo, and Ricardo Rosset. Their steeds too damaged to rejoin the battle. For these unfortunate racers, the Belgian GP had ended all too quickly. Their hopes drowned in a torrential downpour that reshaped the destiny of many on that fateful day. With the treacherous conditions and memories of the first lap chaos still fresh, strategies had shifted. The drivers, now threading a more cautious path, had their skills tested to the hilt. The conditions weren't just a battle against other drivers, but a battle against the very fabric of the racetrack. With some parts drying and others still perilously wet, drivers had to judge every inch, every move. It was like deciding whether to wear shorts or a raincoat in an unpredictable British weather, but with much higher stakes. The restart, though, was a spectacle. Damon Hill and his Jordan was leading the parade. Who would have thought? Hill, once the champion prodigy of the great Graham Hill, now in an underdog team, was spearheading the field at one of F1's most treacherous circuits. The scent of a possible Jordan victory, their first ever, was tantalizing in the air. But it wasn't all smooth sailing, pun intended, at the front. Behind Hill, the midfield was a cauldron of bubbling tension. Fisichella, Hill's teammate, keen to etch his own name in the annals of F1 history, was sniffing at the possibility of an upset himself. And then there was the sibling rivalry. Ralph Jordan and Michael's Ferrari diced and duelled in close quarters, with Michael, the seasoned campaigner, eventually outfoxing his younger brother. A cheeky move, proving once again that family dinners post-race might be a tad awkward. Further back, titans like Schumacher and Hakkinen were weaving their way through the grid, their eyes locked on the prize. But amidst their championship duel, they also had to fend off other midfield challenges, such as Jean Alesi and Eddie Irvine, thirsty for points and glory. Controversy. The spice that turns a good race into a legendary race. And Spa 98 had it in spades. Michael Schumacher, the formidable presence in his scarlet Ferrari, seemed unstoppable. He was painting a masterpiece on the wet canvas that was Spa that day, leading the pack with the authority of a seasoned general. He was the very picture of control amidst chaos. Behind him, a lap down, David Coulthard was having quite the opposite day in his McLaren, which on this particular afternoon seemed to possess all the grace and grip of a greased-up eel on a slide. As the laps dwindled, the stage was being set for an infamous rendezvous neither would forget. After a nudge from his team, Coulthard tried to let the German maestro through, but in a decision as questionable as a British summer, he slowed down smack bang on the racing line. Then Schumacher, with his iconic red helmet glistening through the wet conditions, approached the struggling McLaren on the Kemmel Straight. As he tried to navigate around Coulthard amidst the enveloping spray, the unthinkable happened. The two collided, resulting in the Ferrari's front wing looking a lot like a crushed accordion. While Coulthard's McLaren got a not-so-lovely scratch on his derriere, the damage was done, and Schumacher limped back to the pits. His championship hopes dealt a serious soggy blow. But the Spa's drama was just warming up. Schumacher, with adrenaline pumping and a temperament reminiscent of his younger karting days, felt the need for a wee chat. No, not a cordial discussion over a cuppa and digestives, but a rather animated pit-lane confrontation with Coulthard. Ross Brawn, Ferrari's technical director at the time, and other team personnel tried to play peacemakers in this impromptu debate. If looks could puncture tyres, Coulthard's McLaren would have been stranded right there. There, in a flurry of raincoats and pit crew members, the two drivers confronted each other. Voices were raised, accusations hurled, and for a moment, it seemed the Belgian GP might feature fisticuffs alongside its usual wheel-to-wheel combat. Coulthard, ever since that day, has stood firm in his stance, stating he had no ill intentions, only a misjudgment in trying to let Schumacher through. Their clash, however, would forever be etched in the annals of F1 history, turning the 1998 Belgian GP into the stuff of legends. While the big guns faltered and familiar names found themselves entangled in both rain and rivalry, an unexpected hero was navigating his way to the front. Enter Damon Hill, the very embodiment of motor racing lineage, with his father, Graham Hill, having stamped his legacy in the annals of F1. But in this race, the young Hill found himself in unfamiliar waters. No longer with the top-tier Williams team, where he'd clinched his championship. He was now helming the Jordan vessel. The plucky Irish team, always bridesmaid and never quite the bride, was suddenly looking at their first ever walk down the F1 aisle. But there was a plot twist. Right in Hill's rearview mirror was none other than his younger teammate, Ralf Schumacher. Now, sibling rivalries in sport are one thing, but team rivalries, they're a kettle of fish that's boiling hot. As the laps dwindled down, the tension was palpable. Would Ralf let Hill through for the win? Or would Jordan's potential 1-2 finish be jeopardized by in-team competition? Amidst the roaring engines and the spatter of rain, Hill's voice crackled over the radio, its urgency evident even through the static. "I'm going to put something to you here, and I think you better listen to this." He warns the Jordan pit wall. If we two race, we could end up with nothing. So it's up to Eddie Jordan. If we don't race each other, we've got an opportunity to get a first and second. It's your choice. It was a plea, strategy, a testament to Hill's experience all rolled into one. In the end, perhaps heeding Hill's sage advice or out of a newfound respect, Ralf chose not to challenge. Hill crossed the line, not just as the victor of the race, but as an epochal moment for Jordan. His victory just goes to show how every now and then, amidst the powerhouses and the giants, the relentless spirit of the lesser heralded teams shines through, reminding us of why we love this unpredictable, exhilarating world of Formula One. After the checkered flag waved and the engines quietened, the echoes of the day's events began to reverberate around the paddock and beyond. First up, the post-race interviews. In the world of F1, where diplomacy often takes the front seat, that day it was relegated to the back. Schumacher's steely glare and terse words made it abundantly clear where he believed the blame lay. Coulthard, on his part, tried to explain his side, albeit with a hint of British stoicism and an undertone of frustration. Team principals, engineers, and even the lad who makes the tea in the garage had something to say, each adding layers to an already intricate tale. The media circus went into overdrive. Outlets from BBC to Autosport, both print and broadcast, dissected every moment, every overtaking maneuver, and especially the controversial clash. The headlines spoke of rain chaos, pit lane confrontation, and Jordan's dream win. With that kind of media frenzy, you'd think the royal family had taken up racing.
Whoa.
In terms of the championship, this race shuffled the deck. Schumacher's lead was dented, giving Hakkinen and McLaren a renewed glimmer of hope as they looked ahead to Monza and the subsequent races. Suddenly, the season's conclusion seemed less predictable than ever. But perhaps most importantly was the response from the FIA. If Spa was a wake-up call, they certainly heard it loud and clear. Wet race regulations were scrutinised, and discussions around more transparent team orders bubbled up. Proposals such as revised rear light placements and increased standards for wet tyres were floated to enhance driver visibility in rain-soaked conditions. The circuit itself underwent modifications in the years that followed, with improved drainage systems to tackle its infamous weather conditions. Because, in the end, the thrill of F1 shouldn't come at the cost of its heart and soul. The drivers, and let's face it, no one likes driving with a fogged-up windscreen. In the vast annals of Formula One, the 1998 Belgian Grand Prix stands out like a sore thumb. Or perhaps a wet sock. From the heart-stopping drama on Spa's slippery slopes to the off-track soap operas, it was an event that had it all. Enjoyed the ride down memory lane? Give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. After all, in F1, every moment counts. Just like your clicks. Cheers.